Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning, Guy.
Well, you know it's May the 4th. You know what that is, right?
Yeah, some stuff about Star Wars film.
Yeah. May the 4th be with you. Oh my God. There's somebody on Madison Avenue, the advertising guys, probably just had a big party that day. They said, let's make a cake. And I don't know what George Lucas his phone must go off the wall, right? All the people calling for, hey, may the 4th be with you. You know, it's got to be crazy. So, rather than do that, we won't call George Lucas on the show today, like I have his phone number anyway. Anyway, today on the mind, recently, just Monday past, in fact, someone said these profound words that sort of like planted the seed for the show. You can have a great podcast like we do, because we're international, right? And sometimes we have a backdrop. Anyway, enough about that. The thing is, you have a great podcast. If you don't promote it, you don't make it famous through the resources available to you on the net, it's not going to happen. Good morning, chat. Thanks for people that joined in. So let's get down to the links that we're sharing. As you know, every day, if this is your first time here, it'll be redundant if it's not your first time, but we put the show notes online at theguyarcookreport.podbean.com on that image right there. Thank you, Kelvin, for sharing that. Those notes will give you all the links that we discussed today. If there's not a link, then it's homegrown comments, me rambling. If there is a link, it's me curating someone else's opinion. So let's get into that part of the show. 11 Killer Podcast Promotion Tips is a link from Authority Marketing, and they're killer. They're really good. Have a look at the show notes and see what those are. The second item we're going to talk about is how important Apple and iTunes are to your podcast. Now, Apple didn't invent podcasting, okay? But in that jungle called where do I link my podcast from, like what shows do you want to have in there? Just like if you have a video, it's got to be on YouTube, more or less. If it's an audio podcast, you've got to build the bridge to iTunes. It's got to happen on iTunes. And Entrepreneur.com is who wrote the article, and Mitch Meyerson is the contributor for there. I think I said his name right. Third set is dealing with local. Now, everybody can make a global international podcast. At least Kelvin and I think so, because we're doing it. But if you make a local hometown podcast, there are 10 surefire tips to excite your hometown podcast. And we've got the link for that. It came from howtorecordpodcast.com. Is that a good name? So they're doing that right. Jeffrey Powers, hats off to you. You've got a good set of links there. I looked around in the blog. Many good resources on that how to record podcasts that I'd encourage you to look at. The pearl and the oyster today is many people are going to say, well, you should get Libsyn to host your podcast. You should get Blueberry, and it's spelled without an E, and I found that out in the berry part, or you'll get a lot of plant things. Or you can use Podbean, or there's a number of other ones that are used. We like Podbean because that's what I spent money on, and so I've kind of group hypnosis by the amount of the dollar. But what I did in the show notes, which is better, Podbean or Libsyn or Blueberry? I've got the links to all their plans and pricing, which things they offer, and make your own decision. It's your call, baby. So, again, listen to the podcast on a number of places, and in the show notes, we've got the shameless plugs for those links. I've turned that for the visual aid. We're on Stitcher Radio. We're on Spreecast. We're on iTunes, like I mentioned before, because we're on Podbean. When you're on Podbean, this is one of the pluses, you're automatically uploaded into Podbean, right? You put this new podcast in, it's automatically simulcast into iTunes. You have to make a graphic, and the minimum size is 1400 by 1400. And I heard from Kevin Scullion They're up to 3,000 by 3,000 pixel graphics. I think that's for the Retina displays, the high resolution stuff.
I
Anyway,
think so.
the video, it's on YouTube. So if you want to see our smiling faces, this is when we smile. Then go to YouTube, and we'll be there. Every copy of the show notes, which are available off of my WordPress-powered blog, Guy R. Cook Online Services blog. Then there's the evaluation questions. And I just shared that with, shall we give them a shout-out? You know,
Yeah.
in Minnesota, we just met the media class at the Royal Oaks High School. I'm not sure of the high school's name, but it's in Minnesota. Their mascot is the Royal Oaks, and soon they're going to know the fight song. And that's another story. And anyway, a shout out to the media class. Glad that you found us this day. And so the shout out section, normally I know that Fraser Ramsey's going, where's my shout out? He's always started with me first. But the media class at Royal Oaks, I mean, come on. They're grand. But anyway, the official, real, true to form shout outs, we start as always with the company that likes to clean, Edinburgh Dusters. You're in this side of the water, not so much. But if you're in UK, in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and you've leased your apartment, and then the people, they folded up and moved their tent away. So you've got to get the place cleaned up so you can lease it again, right? Give Fraser a call. That's what he does. And he showed me a couple of tips, like how to clean an oven and so forth. He knows his stuff. They say that if you take one job and do it really, really well, you'll succeed. He does cleaning really, really well because he likes doing it. Also in Edinburgh, he also has a site, Passing Places in Scotland. It's about tourism. But albadigitalmedia.com is our friend Kevin Scullion, I mentioned a minute ago. He's the guy to talk to about web design, web hosting, hardware, software, those kind of IT questions. He'll give that a good shot. Thanks to Blab, blab.im. We'd have never met that high school class this morning. That was a thrill, if not for Blab. Blab.im is fast becoming a very popular streaming service, and some of the podcasters I know personally are using it quite a lot, including me. And while I'm in Blab, in order to find high school classes and other curiosities, and thanks to Amnon this morning for his help with the dual logins, look for the logo for Friends Just Chatting. It's just like that. And I realized last night, this is what the Earth is going to look like from space when there's an immediate freeze. When everybody's got snow, it'll look just like this. The water will be blue, all the continents will be white. But still, even at that, we'll be Friends Just Chatting. We'll be on blab.im. So join us there weekday mornings, Monday through Friday. And on that bit of fun, if you're watching this show on YouTube, of course, we'd like you to click that little subscribe. I think it's up on the top someplace. And become part of the community, okay? So on that note, did I forget anything? I even remembered the high school. That was pretty good.
Well, I was going to remind you about the high school, but you remembered it. So
Who knew?
my job, I'm redundant.
Well, when I learn to sing the Royal Oaks fight song, I won't do it live on the air because they'll probably kick us off. Okay, they'll say that's cruel and unusual punishment, and they won't allow it. It's one of those things. So, as they say at the end of every show that the Cook Report does, the Guy R. Cook Report ends with those famous last words, it's a wrap.